I just wanted to come back on the question of tax credits, because that's something for independent music companies. We represent independent music companies across Europe. And for us, this whole issue of tax credit is absolutely crucial. And there are a couple of good examples. In France, for example, they've introduced a tax credit last year for new production in music. So there is an innovation element, but there's also a cultural element. In France, obviously, that's a much easier argument to win than it is in the UK, which is traditionally much more technology focused. But I think even in the UK, it must be possible to draw parallels with innovation, with creativity. We've got great models that work already in the technology sector. Innovation tax credits just simply need to be grafted onto the creativity sector. And that's something, a few years ago, we can talk about that specific example. We can talk about the specific example later, but a few years ago in the UK, the music business actually managed to get a tax credit that was traditionally only available to the hardcore R&D sector, and that was by showing the parallels between risk and music and revenues compared to the traditional R&D sector. In Italy last year, they also approved a tax credit for music investment.
I was discussing this with an official this morning, this question, and it does seem to me, however, that a lot of tax credit and innovation policy in culture and creative industries is protection or defensive. And so it seems that quite often there isn't a rationale that says, actually it's horizontal. It's horizontal innovation across cultural and creative that we want to encourage. And often you have film tax credits, or you have music tax credits, which seem to me to be rather limited instruments in the sense that they're defined just by a particular genre, or particular platform, or particular medium. Is there enough interest in innovation and if you like, the fiscal treatment of innovation in this room for us to raise that as a key question with the Commission, that actually we need a more coherent approach to the taxation treatment of innovation in the cultural industries? Am I hearing yes, or am I hearing nothing at all? Because if I'm hearing nothing at all, we're going to be really quiet this afternoon.
I think everybody in this room would say that's a top priority.
In which case, if somebody would say that, then we would be able to write it down. Who would think that's right? Is that something we should be looking at? Okay, that's half of the room at least on the list. Thank you. That's great, because we now need to start bringing this to a focal point where this poor guy on my left knows what we're going to say to these guys.
I would just like to add something to this. I mean, it's of course, in this room, I'm just wondering that only half of the people, either you are too tired of the discussion, but only one half of the people raised a hand. I mean, because this is something that the whole cultural sector that is living out of this should be for that, you know. But the problem with the taxation and these subsidies on this field is that, of course, also tourism sector wants this. Also, I don't know, horse breeding sector wants this, you know. I mean, and there on the other side, there is a budget and the Ministry of Finance who doesn't allow the exceptions, and this is one of the rules, no exception, you know. Where the exception, what we could, for example, vote for in a sense is, you know, for a certain period of time, so that there is a time limit for this in order to stimulate, you know, or that...
At risk of arguing with my rapporteur, I'm going to. However, high-tech sectors which have co-opted the idea of innovation and have understood that, aren't treated as exceptions. It's treated as a necessary requirement of development of those sectors, that there should be some kind of incentive to taking risk. They're not treated as... I'm actually arguing the opposite of what you're saying to an extent, Andre. I'm saying we're not saying it's like the horse breeding sector who are under threat. We're saying it's a massive opportunity, but it's being treated differentially. It's being treated differently to innovation in science. And there is an argument that in an information economy and information age, that's very old-fashioned, and that's what we're saying.